I want to take a look at the uses and sources of cash. And the best way to understand this is by going to the balance sheet. Now, you should recall that the balance sheet has assets on the left-hand side and liabilities and owner's equity on the right-hand side. And there's a balance sheet identity. In fact, the term balance sheet means these items have to balance. Left-hand side has to equal the right-hand side. So we have this identity. Current assets plus fixed assets has to equal current liabilities plus long-term debt plus equity. Now, we can do a little manipulation here, and let's subtract current liabilities from both sides. So we have current assets minus current liabilities plus fixed assets equals long-term debt plus equity. Now, we can group current assets and current liabilities together, if we'd like, and call this net working capital. So net working capital plus fixed assets equals long-term debt plus equity. Now, we know that net working capital equals current assets minus current liabilities. Let's break it up some more, and let's use the definition of current assets, cash plus accounts receivable plus inventories. So if we write that down here, we have cash plus accounts receivable plus inventories minus current liabilities plus the fixed assets we had before equals long-term debt plus equity. And what we really want to do here is we want to solve for cash. And so if we do that, we can keep cash on the left-hand side of the equation and bring all of these things over to the right-hand side of the equation. So we're going to have cash equals long-term debt plus equity. Okay, we're going to subtract accounts receivable minus accounts receivable. We're going to subtract inventory. We're going to add current liabilities, right? That's negative on this side. And then we're going to subtract fixed assets. So now that we've looked at this, we have an understanding of what affects cash. Everything that's positive on this side of the equation, if they go up, it increases the amount of cash. Okay, so if long-term debt goes up, right, if we borrow money, okay, issue bonds, for example, as a corporation, that increases our cash. That makes perfectly good sense. If we issue equity, that increases our cash. On the other hand, if accounts receivable go up, in fact, let me put an arrow up here. So when long-term debt goes up, cash goes up. When the amount of equity increases, the amount of cash goes up. When accounts receivable go up, the amount of cash goes down, right? Instead of us collecting cash for what we sold, we give people credit for that. If inventories go up, the amount of cash goes down. We have to use cash to pay for those inventories. If the amount of current liabilities increases, the amount of cash goes up. So, for example, if we can find ways to keep from paying our taxes, defer our taxes through different depreciation methods, that increases our cash. If we can hold off on paying wages or paying accounts payable, that increases our cash, if we can extend that. And if we increase our fixed assets, that is, if we buy machines and stuff, that reduces our cash. So you can see that there are a number of things that affect the uses and sources of cash. All these positive ones are sources of cash, right? If long-term debt goes up, that's a source of cash. If equity goes up, that's a source of cash. But if inventories go up, that's a use of cash. If fixed assets go up, that's a use of cash. So this gives you a better understanding of how cash is used and cash is raised by a corporation. And again, the best way to do that is to go back to the basics and go back to the balance sheet and the balance sheet identity and work systematically through it so you can understand what's a use of cash and what's a source of cash.